Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to this beautiful Monday, November the 28th. And we are doing another live recording of the Boss Life with Bonds. Now, real quick, if you are watching this live with me, do me a favor, you know the deal. Drop a hashtag on here. If you're watching this on a replay, go ahead and drop a hashtag replay. And anytime you get something that is insightful or like a wow, like, oh, I felt that, let me know in the comments. Drop your favorite emoji, or even, I love it what some people do, good morning, mama. I love what some people do, and they'll just type out what it was, because it's going to help you remember what it was. And then it's also going to give people who are just scrolling by and have no reason to stop and listen, they'll see what you wrote and be like, oh, snap, let me tune into this. So good morning to you too, Jen. We're going to hop right in because I've got some serious gas. I know y'all didn't ask for that, but like my stomach is feeling the effects of everything I've done from Thursday till now, which has been pretty crummy. For all my fitness people, your girl has gained, I think, somewhere between like maybe 2 pounds. I think it was up to like 4 pounds over the weekend. And then I weighed myself this morning and it was only 2 pounds. Not really worried about it because I enjoyed every last minute of it. But that's not what today's live is about. We're not talking about is the angel or is there a devil on your shoulder about how much you ate for the holidays. That's ridiculous. No, today I'm talking about a little thing that we like to call either self-sabotage, or if you want to get technical, it is a form of internal resistance. So what I'm going to do today is kind of walk you through what is session 5 in the Girl Get Your Life level 2 and level 1, actually, depending on what your goals are, life coaching course that I do with people. Also, right now we are doing Cyber Monday. So go ahead and click the links in any of my bios. If you're on my Facebook page, I just recently made a post about this and shared it, so you can click that link there. If you're on Instagram, click the links in any bios, and we're doing 30% off today. All online courses, all online one-on-one fitness coaching, little burpity burp. And then also 30% off any of our Mind and Body Fitness memberships, because that whole thing is going to be revamped for next year. We're doing something completely new. So if you wanted to save money, join the community and lock in and grandfather that rate, go ahead and do that today and today only. So without further ado, let's get into what today's topic is. Self-sabotage, internal resistance. Is it the little devil on your shoulder, or is it the little angel on your shoulder? And you may be thinking right away, like, why would an angel on my shoulder be the source of my resistance? Now, I'm going to stop using the word self-sabotage, because in some cases you may think that you are sabotaging. You may think that a situation in your life has been sabotaged, when with big pick energy, or with the end in mind, it becomes easier and easier to see that things that didn't always go the way that you wanted to were it's always exactly the way that it needed to go. So before we move forward, I want you to open your mind, and I want you to embrace this idea that everything is happening for me and not to me. As long as we have this everything is happening to me mentality, it's going to suck. And the last podcast, I talked about how what was it? It's not the situation that is your problem, but it's the relationship to the situation that's the problem or the issue. And oftentimes we'll have situations or we'll have issues that we think are the worst thing ever. For instance, I saw a post this morning, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I was just scrolling through Facebook, and it said, I'm really emotional this morning. I'm sick, and being in the lower income bracket, yes, Jennifer, being in the lower income bracket while being sick is like torture, or it's punishment or something. And I read that. I didn't have time to fully engage in this person's post. They are a client, so at some point I'm going to reach out to them and talk to them about this mindset, or at least just kind of challenge them. But here's the thing. She's not wrong. She's not wrong. When you can't afford to take time off of work to be sick, and when you don't have the luxury of PTO and all these other things, yeah, it kind of is like torture. However, when you look at life through the lens of everything is happening for me and not to me, if we continue to be surrounded by comfortable situations, we will never have the catalyst for change. One of the best things about me being in the service industry for so long and hating it was the fact that I could make really great money, and so I stayed there. and I was comfortable. I could call out whenever I wanted to. I could come in and switch sections if I didn't like the section I wanted to. If I came in and it was overstaffed, I could take a day off. If I came in, like, I had way too much comfort in that industry. I had way too much flexibility. And so I'm so thankful that God allowed me to be so unhappy in the industry, because I would have never made the transition to what I'm doing now. And so a lot of times when we see something as the worst situation ever, it's literally the universe. It's literally God trying to come in and be like, yo, like, get your ass up. Like, you're chilling. You're taking stuff too easily. Like, you got things you're supposed to be doing. I can specifically remember when I used to just sit there and play on my iPad when I was depressed. I'd come home from work, I'd drink and I'd smoke and I'd just play on my iPad all day long. And like a little tiny voice, I couldn't hear it audibly, but I could literally hear it in my soul. And it was like, you're wasting time. You're wasting time. And over time, that voice just kept getting louder and louder till I was like, wasting time? God, I did what you told me to do and it didn't work. And he's like, get back up though. You were doing what you thought you were supposed to do. But now that you're attuned and you're ready and you're so miserable that you're willing to do anything to get out of this situation, now I think that you can hear me. And so going back to the original post, the woman saying, you know, this is torture and this is horrible. Yeah, it is. And it's probably exactly what you need to realize that you don't want to be a woman in the lower income bracket for the rest of your life, because it means torture. But most people don't look at it like that. They look at it like, oh, well, woe is me. I don't have time to take off, and woe is me. Or I'm sick, and wah. And that's great. You are human. You are allowed to feel those feelings, all of them, and then some. But at the end of the day, if you're not looking at this through the lens of how is this here to make me better, or how can I change this, then guess what? That torture that you feel is happening to you is going to continue to happen to you. And you're going to always have this victim mindset where life is happening to you and not for you. Not sure how I got started off on that tangent, but it popped into my head. Somebody needed to hear it. So let's keep it moving. So when it comes to resistance, like I said, we're not going to say self-sabotage because I might use them interchangeably. But nonetheless, in session 5 of my coaching program, we talk about self-sabotage, because it's around that time that the person that started off thinking that they were going to work out 5 days a week, the person that started off thinking that they were going to create their vision board, set their goals, and every single week they would just get one step closer to their goals. By the time week 3 rolls around, most people are starting to realize, like, oh, wow, this is actually a lot. This whole inner work, and then still dealing with people around me who aren't doing the inner work, and then still having to go to work around more people that aren't doing the inner work, and then also working out, and then, oh my gosh, also like, what? Oh my God, this is a lot. And so by the time session 5 weeks into the program usually rolls around, people are either falling off the wagon, they're ghosting me, they're rescheduling calls, they have a crisis, their house is on fire, like it's always something. And more often than not, it is the internal coping mechanisms, or the avoidance, or the internal resistance, aka self-sabotage. Now, the way that I was taught as a life coach to bring these things to people's attention is to ask them a couple of questions. Well, one, what's always getting in the way? Or first we ask this, like, okay, so you were getting ready to go to the gym. Okay, so you were getting ready to do your, read in the morning. Okay, so you were getting ready to sit down and do the course. And what happened? Well, my kids needed this. Well, my husband needed that. Well, work needed this. This is that. And so that is the first source of self-sabotage that we always see, which is that something else was always more important. Now, as women, ladies, like, it is in us to serve and to be of service to people. I want you to understand that there's never going to be a point in your life where people are not asking for things from you. And that's not because, oh, all you are is a servant. Get that shit out of your head. Get that sad bitch energy out of your head. It's because people know that they can rely on you. So it's a compliment. However, I need you to process, understand, realize, embrace, and really truly understand that it ain't gonna stop. Okay? I always tell people, like, the universe doesn't just align. Well, it does. But like, the stars and the planets don't align to make a perfect path for you because you decided that you're ready to change your life. Whoop-de-doo. There's a million people across the planet every single day on an everyday basis that make the same decision as you. And life goes on. There's still red lights. There's still traffic. There's still inflation. There's still people cheating on their spouses. There's, what I'm saying? Like, life goes on. So to expect that you're going to set out on this ambitious journey of yours and to not have any roadblocks in the way, and to have all of your friends and your family be on your team supporting you, not bothering you, not interrupting you, not eating your meal prep, kids, your friends not inviting you out for drinks. Oh, I'll pay for your drinks, they say. Oh my God, that kept me going out for so long. I would use the money thing, like, yeah, I don't want to spend any money, I'll buy your drinks. I'm like, say less. And then 2 drinks and I'm like, fuck, how do we get, damn it. So if you or the gym, you know, I've got one client, love her, we've been working together for 2 years. There was always something, we've done a lot of mindset work. So like on that end, like, woohoo, sweetheart is flying high, whole new mindset. But there's still so much deep resistance to going to the gym and or consistently working out. And every week that I ask her about it, something else came up. Well, work did this. Well, I had to put my father in the car and this and that. And I'm just like, sweetheart, I'm about this close to asking her. So in 10 years, when you're still the same weight, what will you be doing? How happy will you be with yourself? Because sometimes y'all need to hear that shit. But anywho, moving right along. Something else is always more important. That's the first area where I see women struggle with self-sabotage or resistance to change. Number 2 is, and this one is not as obvious to people. It's really not. But number 2 is that fear of not being loved. What? Yeah. Because we have such strong people-pleasing tendencies, and we believe that the love that we have received or the acceptance that we have received from people in our circles is due to us being a certain way. So we're afraid that if we do change, that they're not going to love us or like us anymore in this new version of ourselves. Let me get more specific, because I know that sounds just crazy to the average person. So let me break it down at a micro level. One of my first life coaching clients, she's an amazing first client. We did life coaching. We did weekly life coaching sessions and in-person training, and I nutrition coached her and helped her get out of a toxic work environment, start at a job that she actually really loved, and really started taking care of her weight. And she lost 12 pounds in the 3 months that we were working together. She had phenomenal results. I still use her before and afters to this day, still use her testimonies to this day. And she realized that one of her issues with the resistance to the weight loss was that she had created this identity, right? Where she is a thicker woman, a thicker white woman who likes black men. Now, historically speaking, not speaking for all black men, we know black men like women with a little meat on their bones, right? Excuse me. So for her, we had to do a lot of work to get to this, because it wasn't like I just asked, why are you resisting? And she's like, oh, it's because I don't want to lose my attention from the black men. No, we had to get deep and do a lot of questions. You guys know I love asking questions and asking like, well, how long have you felt like this? And how long, all this stuff. And it got to the point where she realized, like, snap, this is who I am. I'm part of the thick girl, club. Never been a fit girl, never been a skinny girl. And as much as she wanted to be both of those things, deep down inside, her identity is, I'm a thick girl, right? And it's sexy and we love it, and body empowerment and body positivity. So for her to lose weight means that she's not just losing years of emotional weight, but she's also losing a piece of her identity for the group of women that she surrounded herself with who are also thick. When they go out and do their eating and their drinking and they're let's just be real, overindulging, she'll be the oddball out. So there's that, aspect. Fear of being judged, or fear of not being one of us anymore. Instead of saying fear of not being loved, I should say fear, FOMO, fear of missing out, fear of not belonging anymore was there. And then you add the dating aspect to it, where if she has been heavier set her whole life and she has never she's never attracted men that like smaller women, it may seem either just completely foreign. She's never been in that place before. So she's thinking, one, I'm going to lose the type of men that actually do want me. And so then I'll really miss out on love if I lose this extra weight. Because what happens is when we allow things to get in between us in relationships, whether it is our appearance, our finances, our kids, our weight, that's kind of our way of protecting ourselves, because deep down inside, we don't feel worthy enough of love and acceptance. And so as long as we have these barriers between us and the real world, we can always hide behind the extra weight. We can always hide behind the job. We can always hide behind the kids. For me, it was the kids. It was, well, I've got these 2 kids from 2 different dads. dads. And so because they don't look, they're not both black. So if I marry a black dude, it's not like he can, pretend and walk around in public and not feel embarrassed to have me and my two kids. Or if I marry a Hispanic or a white dude, Danny looks mixed, but what about my oldest? So I was always like, I had this story in my head that I couldn't date and that nobody would want me because of that. And so as long as I had that barrier between myself and love, I could always, oh, this is so good. As long as I had that barrier in between myself and the opposite sex, that was my excuse, or that was my way to not do the inner work. Because why would I need to do the inner work if I don't even think anyone's going to get past that first wall of me having two kids from two different men? And so for women who are resistant to losing the weight, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, well, they just don't like me because I'm big. Or it's a lot easier to accept that versus, well, I lost the weight and now I'm skinny and look, or fit. And look, I still don't have anyone to love me. And so for me, it was a cop out. I didn't know it, but it was a cop out for doing the inner work. Because remember, I was super into church. I had a degree in theology. Like I was an ordained minister. Like in my head, I was at the pinnacle of development, spiritual growth. And not even like spiritual, religious growth and religious attainment I had reached. I actually had an award they gave me called the Pinnacle, right? So, but I was not doing the inner work because that's not something that we talked about. And so a lot of times we will resist the next step of our growth because then we know that once we peel back that layer, once you peel back the weight issue, once you pull back okay, it's not my kids that are keeping me from being dateable. Okay, it's not it's me. Now you got to work on that. And I had an epiphany this weekend about one of my family members. Love her, but she does not like any sort of pain or discomfort at all. And so I kept wondering, I'm like, she's like me, or how I was, super deep into church. She's an ordained minister. She's got all this stuff going for her, but she's not doing the inner work. Why not? She's posting all the stuff that I say. She's in agreement with what I'm saying. Why won't she do the inner work? Because it's painful. Because you have to face your shadow. You have to face the painful parts of you. You got to embrace what you don't face. What you don't deal with, you can't heal. You can't fix what you won't face. And so many of us are walking around avoiding doing the work, not because we're horrible, selfish people and we don't want to change, but because we know that the work is, well, work. And it's going to hurt a little bit and it's going to be uncomfortable. And it may not be the best ride that you sign up for, but it will be the best ride that you sign up for. Okay. So that's the second reason why a lot of people resist change, is because that fear of missing out, right? Fear of not being accepted into their peer circles anymore. Like, it took a lot for me to grow into who I am. I was so afraid to leave the church. I was so afraid up until like a year or two into my business. I was afraid to post physique pictures. I'm a freaking fitness coach. And right now I'm like an amateur bodybuilder. I will compete. I've already decided in my head, I'm going to compete in a show one day just to go through the process. Hopefully I don't lose my period like some women do, because that takes a toll on your body. But anywho, it's neither here nor there. You think losing your period sounds cute. It's not. Your body was set up to have a cycle, ladies. But anywho, so yes, we resist the change because we're afraid that we're not going to fit in with our peer circle or our loved ones anymore. And then the last thing that, the last place that resistance tends to come from, again, the first one is that something is always more important. The second one is fear of missing out or not being loved. And the third one, I don't even usually do the third one because I always look at it and I'm like, that's not even a real reason. You know why? Because in my theory, from what I've experienced in my own growth and what I've also seen coaching hundreds of women, if not thousands from a distance via webinar and workshops and stuff, what I have noticed is that it really only boils down to two sources of resistance: your highest self and your lowest self, aka the angel on your shoulder or the devil on your shoulder. So one of the things that I've helped women do is to bring them back into alignment, to bring them back into to the road that they want to be on, where they're working towards their goals, is to simply ask themselves this simple question: is this in alignment with the woman I am wanting to become? If you can ask yourself that when you notice that you are resisting change, that something is not going well for you, that you're avoiding obstacles or whatever, ask yourself, would the woman that I want to become avoid this obstacle, or would she embrace it? So let's rewind and let's go back to those two situations that I listed that would be a reason for resistance. Number one, something else is always more important. Ask yourself. Maybe you haven't done this, but you should. Matter of fact, if you're watching this on a replay, or if you're listening to this watching this on YouTube, wherever you're watching this from, if you're not watching it live and you didn't get all the information, what I want you to do is write at the top of the paper, my highest self, or whatever word you use to relate to. And I want you to write out a list of all the characteristics that this person possesses, right? Are they punctual? Are they confident? Are they steadfast? Are they consistent? What are they like? Write out all the things about the best possible version of you. Write those things out so that when you notice that your ass is acting up, you can ask yourself, is this in alignment with this person right here on this piece of paper? Every time, works every single time. So going back to the first example of something else is always more important. When I look at my weeks, and I had to do this for myself, that's why we're doing this podcast now. When I look at the last 4 months, August, September, October, November, we're in 4 months going into month 5 that I have had a team that I put together with the sole intention of me working less in my business and working on moving the business forward, right? And I look, and what I have done instead is, well, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And something else would always get in the way of me doing what I set out to do. And so I had to sit back and ask myself, like, yes, the team may need this. And yes, this client may need this. And yes, this client did want to work with you one-on-one, even though you said that you weren't taking any more one-on-one clients. But now that they're ready to here, let's give it a try, whatever. But I was like, is that moving me forward, or is that slowing me down? That's slowing me down. Is this in alignment with my highest self? No. My highest self would be doing everything that she needs to do to move the company forward, because that's how she got where she is. And so asking yourself that very often, is this in alignment with my highest self, right? I don't know where my brain went, but it went blank. We'll look at the devil on your shoulder, your lowest self, which I've talked about in great depth this fall when we are getting ready to launch the shadow work courses. I talked a lot about shadow work, and in the Boss Life Blueprint, there is a whole module on inner child healing and shadow work. So your lowest self, I like to say, it could be anything like your inner child, and I'm not putting your inner child down or calling them anything bad, but I'm just saying there are lower versions of you, the less elevated, less evolved, less healed, less aware, less enlightened version of you. Those are your lower selves. And in some cases, it's your inner child who is still hurting and is still missing out on certain aspects of their life that they needed to grow and flourish and be a healthy, confident adult. That's one area. And then also there's your shadow. And sometimes those things can overlap. Your shadow is the version of you that is not so great. My shadow looks like bitterness. My shadow looks like being a fucking bitch. My shadow looks like being lazy and not saying a word. Saturday, I said barely any words. I sat on my couch and I think I drank some beer and I ate till I couldn't move anymore. And yeah, this is Saturday, not Thursday. And I didn't talk to anybody for the majority of the day. Okay, that's one of my shadows, whatever. These are all pieces of you. And there'll be some times when they are trying to get your attention about something, and when you suppress certain emotions, and when you suppress pieces of you calling out for you to pay attention to them, to heal them, to embrace them, to reconcile it, it comes out as your shadow ruining situations and saying, I know you wanted to get on this weight loss journey, but you know what? Other people are more important. That's your shadow. That's the people-pleasing ass shadow. People-pleasing ass Polly. That could be one of your shadows as well, right? Well, I knew I said that I was going to go to the gym, but I'm so in my head about what other people who I don't know and who don't know me are going to think about me, so I'm just going to sit in the car until I waste time, and then now I can't go. That's your shadow acting a damn fool, right? That is not your highest self. Would your highest self do that? No. Use that when you were in situations like that. Again, all right. Second area where we saw sabotage or resistance was the whole fear of missing out and fear of being loved. This one is super obvious, okay? The lowest version of you is the one that got you where you are now. So the very fact that you are clinging to this identity is a telltale sign that this is not the highest version of you calling you forth to new things. This is the lowest or lower version of yourself asking you to stay comfortable. And sadly, that is where most people reside. This is where most people hang out. They stay in the low vibing energy. They stay in the lowest version of themselves and don't ever cross that threshold and continue to blame, to point, to use other people as the reasons for why they have not progressed in one area of their life or another. And so I want you to take a moment and think about that. It's almost December 1st. And, less than 35 days. I don't math, guys. What is that? 31, 32, 33. Yeah, let's about 34 days. We will be in the new year. And a lot of people will be making resolutions or deciding what they want to do with the new year. A lot of people will be joining our Exponential Abundance course, second annual. We'll be running that again. And I'll be teaching you how to write a compelling vision for your future, how to create an actual vision board that motivates you to do the work, and then a nice introductory level to doing the inner work, the mind, the body, and the spirit work, so that you can effortlessly manifest and then also learn and heal along the way. We'll be doing that in January. Nonetheless, a lot of people will be getting ready to change their life. And I do this because a lot of people that set out to change their life this year have used the inflation, the skyrocketing rental rates and everything else as their reason for why they're not moving forward. And I want you to ask yourself, if that's you, if you set out this year to be the year that you lost weight, if you set out this year to be the year that you started your business, launched your podcast, if you started out this year with the intention that you were going to rewrite your story and be completely different and you haven't, why do you think that is? Do you think it was your highest self telling you, you don't need to do anything right now, honey, just stay right where you are? She might. Or do you think it was a lower version of you saying, oh, yeah, I don't want, yeah, all of the things that we mentioned already, right? Well, if you do this, then you're going to lose his love. If you do this, your friends aren't going to want you anymore. If you do this, then people who depended on you aren't going to have their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches made when they get, whatever it is, right? Ask yourself those things. Because this is going to be a cycle. This is going to be not even a cycle. This is going to be a lifelong journey for you. Differentiating between who is keeping me from the next level. And I'm going to wrap it up with this because sometimes it's a good thing that you're being kept from the next level. Up until this point in the podcast, 26 minutes in, I've only shown you and talked about the negative aspects of resistance and self-sabotage. But as I wrap up, I want to let you know that there are good reasons for resistance as well. Because when it is your highest self, she will, as I mentioned before, let you know when something's just not in alignment with who you are and who you want to be. So the whole catalyst for today's podcast, because I had something totally different lined up for the week. I have a whole bunch of podcast topics that I could pick and choose from. But today in the car, I felt compelled to share this story with you guys. So if you missed the last podcast called How the D Stole Thanksgiving, not the eggplant D, get your minds out the gutter. No, it was discernment, and it was delays, and it was delegation, it was all these things. But they all worked out for my good. Because what was going to be sold from our store was not up to par with my standards. And I'm glad that it didn't work out. Okay. So that just canceled Black Friday sales that I had planned. Right. The second thing was perhaps like Cyber Monday or this and that. Anywho, long story short, I don't really like this sort of behavior in my business, the frantic like sales. Like I've never participated in going out and doing a Black Friday sale, like going shopping. That just scares me. Also, I'm not known for always shopping for the best deals. I shop for the best quality. And so it's been really difficult for me as a business owner. One of the challenges that I've gotten to face as a business owner is learning, is this Bonnie making this decision, or is this the owner of a company making a decision? And so I don't want to participate in Black Friday sales. I think it's for me, it's a lot of peer pressure. No one, like I'm the owner of the company. Nobody told me to do those things. That's just something that I felt I should do because, hey, everybody else is doing it. Why not? But last year when I did it, I remember it didn't result in much, it didn't really boost any sales, didn't really bring in a lot of business. And it was a lot of work for very little return. And so this is where it gets tricky. Is this my highest self telling me, girls, don't stress about this. It's not even in alignment with who you are. Or is it my lowest self being lazy as fuck? Like, oh my God, I have to put together the sale. I got to put together the codes. I got to do email. I don't want to do that. And it gets tricky because sometimes it's hard because both of these they're the reasonings, the angel and the devil, the highest self and the lowest self. I'm like, I agree with both of you. And I think that in those moments, that's when you can make the decision or use a little discernment on which way to go. If both the best version of you and then also the not best version of you are saying ew, I think that's a telltale sign, at least for me, that hey, this is probably not the direction that we should move in, and or there are other things that you can spend your time and energy doing. And so next year, will we do a Black Friday sale? I don't know. The team will probably be bigger next year, or people will be in roles where this is not a decision that I have to make. It'll be just kind of like a yes or no thing, not me making all of the stuff for it. So who knows? We might. But in this season, looking back in retrospect, literally 20 minutes ago, looking back over this past weekend, I can see so many other things that my attention and my time and energy could have went to, rather than stressing out about putting together a Black Friday promotion and Cyber Monday deal that really isn't in alignment with who I am. I'm not against sales. I'm not against discounts so much, but as I mentioned before, like, I don't want to discount my one-on-one coaching, because when I started this business, I discounted it a lot. And what it resulted in was me feeling like my work wasn't worthy, or attracting people who were looking for who needed a lot of help, but were looking for the cheapest deal. And all that did was further enforce this idea that I was not valuable. And it resulted in more pain than anything. Now, does that mean that every sale or everything has to come carrying that heavy price tag with it? No. But it is very interesting to me that there was resistance from my lowest self, like, girl, I don't even want to do this shit right here. And there was also resistance from my highest self, like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling this. And so if you are having a hard time listening to your intuition, you don't know who your highest self is, you've never done shadow work, all these things sound unfamiliar and or foreign as fuck, I want to remind you that when you feel, after what I've given you today, if you are unfamiliar with any of those terms, after what you've heard today about your highest self and your lowest self, and you feel that when you check in with both, that neither one of them are on board, it's a good sign that the move, like, they're actually aligned. It's actually pretty cool. That's literally alignment. That's like the worst of you and the best of you, and they're both saying no. There could be situations where the worst of you and the best of you are both saying yes. It's not going to look the same, though. A situation like that might be where your highest self is calling you to take a leap of faith, and your lowest self is resisting, but only because she's afraid. Not for any other reason. Not because she's worried about what people will think or anything like that, but she's afraid. That's a good sign, because fear and excitement are so closely intertwined. And whenever I sense fear about something that can very easily cross over the line to excitement, it's literally like the line where your highest and your lowest self meet. Your highest self is on the side of excitement. Your lowest self is over here on the side of fear. And when they're so close, you can't tell the difference. In my opinion, that's how you know. That's how you know that this is something that you need to jump on. When you can feel the fear and you can feel the excitement at the same time, right? So, guys, I hope that you got some value from today, learning to differentiate between your highest self and your lowest self, and knowing when to move forward and when to just take a moment and go within and check in with yourself. Good morning, Robin. Good morning, Des. Guys, let me wrapping up here. Once again, if you got value from today, do me a favor and screenshot this podcast on whatever you're listening to, post it to your story, and tag me at Coach Bonds. One of my number one goals this year was to grow the podcast, and it will continue to be my number one goal until it is where I want it to be. Don't forget to take advantage of our Cyber Monday deals. We have deals going on our one-on-one fitness coaching programs with Mind and Body. We have deals on our courses that we've created. We've got the Boss Life Blueprint, which is the comprehensive personal development course for someone who is dead serious about doing the work. Mindset mastery, emotional mastery, spiritual mastery, learning how to manifest like a freaking boss, and even a bonus module on human design. Check that out. The links are in the bio. I love you guys so very much. Thank you for all of your support. I will see you later on this week. And you're the best. I'm glad that you got some value from this today, Jordan. Have the best day, guys, and I'll see you soon. Peace. All right. We out here, fam. Monday is the funnest of the days. It's time to get this Monday on and popping. Thank you guys for tuning in live. All right, Instagram. Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments. No, I avoided those, but those ears do pick up the message being sent. I'm glad you picked up the message this morning, mamita. Bye, y'all. All right. right? And on the Facebook machine, it does not look like anybody was here live. So I'm about to just write out, oh, hey, Sydney was here. What up, girl? Yeah. All right, peace.